Hello and welcome to this short video to explain the Family Safety Champion role in the Diocese of Melbourne. I'm going to do a short presentation to take you through what the role is about. Before I get started, I just want to remind you of the 1-800 RESPECT number. This is a national 24/7 helpline that you or anyone can call if you have any questions or concerns about family violence, whether it's about yourself, somebody that you know, if you have any questions about somebody experiencing or who may be experiencing family violence in your parish. It's a really good go-to number to be able to speak to professionals in this area. And it's a good number that you can give out to others if they would like to speak to a professional as well. So, to begin with, it's important to highlight why we're having this conversation. And primarily it's because the church has a really transformative role to play in this area. Unfortunately, we know that violence against women is a serious and widespread problem in Australia. But the good news is that churches have a really transformative role to play in supporting people experiencing family violence, but also in shifting the culture that drives higher levels of violence against women. And this role is recognised in various places. It's recognised in the Royal Commission into Family Violence, it's recognised by the Victorian Government, by the National Government, and also by the family violence sector. So the question to us as the church is, are we going to step up and step into this role? So this is a quote that I like from Justin Welby that I wanted to share with you as we begin. Gender-based violence is one of the greatest injustices of our world today. Every time an act of violence is committed, the inherent dignity of the woman or girl affected is degraded. The church must condemn the notion that such violence is ever acceptable. The church must be an advocate for restored relationships of mutual respect, love, and modelling, and reconciling love shown to Christ by all people. So that brings us to the Family Safety Champion role. What is this role? It's a new role in the Diocese of Melbourne that's been introduced and one that has been signed off by Archbishop and Council. It's a volunteer lay person who would do this role, and it's somebody who would raise awareness about family violence in their church community, someone who would be able to refer people to professional family violence services where needed, and someone who's generally promoting working with clergy to promote a safe and healthy culture in the church community. So in most cases, they will be a woman, and that's because what we know is that family violence is largely perpetrated by men against women. So it's usually best placed to have a woman in this role so that women who may be experiencing family violence feel more comfortable to reach out to them for support. But this person in the role will also be able to refer men who are experiencing family violence to support as well. And much of good practice about how you support someone will apply to men and women, so it will be a support that can be available for everyone. This role can be filled by somebody who is already the child safety officer in the church, or it could be somebody different. It's really up to the parish to work out what's best for them. Some churches with different congregations across different sites might prefer to have more than one family safety champion. So it's up for clergy in the church to work out what they feel would meet the needs of their parish and their setting. So why do we need this role in our churches? What we know from emerging research is that to really create a safe church environment where everyone can thrive, it's important for churches to have a lay leader or a few lay leaders to support the clergy and the pastoral team in this. And the main reasons are that it does provide that additional capacity and energy, and there's a lot of strength in that lay clergy partnership, as we know across the Anglican Church in all the activities that we do. But what's also important is that it gives people in the church community options of who they can speak to. What we know is that clergy will tend to, by nature of their role, have a relationship with different people, most people across the church community. And so that might include, in a church, it might include the person experiencing violence and the perpetrator. And so that can mean that the person experiencing violence might find it difficult to speak to clergy if they know that the clergy already have that relationship with the perpetrator, might not believe them. So it's just about giving people options so that anyone who is in that situation can just make a choice of who they feel safest to speak to. In some cases, they might still speak to the clergy, but it's just really giving them options so that they can navigate the safest path for them in whatever the context is. So what does the Family Safety Champion role do? Well, it's very much a role that you shape in your church. We have a position description, which we can share with you or may have already shared with you, that outlines some of the key elements. But it's a role that is shaped in partnership between the person doing the role and the clergy of the church. So firstly, I suppose it's about setting things up clearly and making sure you're creating some of the basics so that your church can be a safe place, whether or not you know of anyone at the moment experiencing family violence. Sometimes it's hidden, so it may be there that you just don't know, or maybe there isn't any there at the moment, but it's good to create a safe environment. So if in the future there are people in the community who are experiencing this, there are support mechanisms already in place. And we found that some of the steps that, some of the simple steps that family safety champions have taken have been really powerful. Even the act of putting up a poster, for example, has led to disclosures in churches because it's sending a message of this is our position as a church on this. We don't take a stand against violence and we are here to support people who experience it. So in terms of the types of activities, the role involves, for example, awareness raising activities, helping to make information on support services available in the church community. When we're in non-COVID times one day, that will be providing, it can be in the form of physical posters, leaflets. At the moment, it might be distributing that information in a more digital form through newsletters, social media, however your church does communications. It's about being known as the point person for questions or concerns, whether it's about individuals' concerns for themselves or others that they know, just someone that they can go and talk it through with who's had some training in this area. The Family Safety Champion role also helps the church to establish a role with their local family violence service. So there are lots of amazing family violence services across Victoria. And part of my dream is that every church would know who their local service is and would be connected with them so that they have that local face that they know that they can go to for advice if they need to get that secondary consultation, but also so that church can be a blessing to these local services in whatever way that is, whether it's through, perhaps it's one of the fundraising activities you do, or sometimes they do a drive to collect toys for Christmas for children who are part of families escaping family violence. So that can be, there can be various things, and it will depend on your setting and conversation with your local family violence service, but part of what the Family Safety Champion can do is to make that contact and start to invest in that relationship and help the church to build that relationship. Another role is, as part of the role, is just working with the leadership of the church to put in place and promote the relevant policies and procedures. So at the moment, we are in the process of developing these diocesan policies and procedures on family violence. So when they're in place, it would be a case of helping people to know what they are and what they mean. The Family Safety Champion role is to help people who are currently experiencing family violence. And the role is certainly not a professional role. We don't have those expectations on the Family Safety Champion. It's more of a go-to person who can point people with questions or concerns or that experience to professional services and to accompany them in that. So one of the things that they can do is to help people experiencing family violence to access services, whether it's through helping them to have the contact details of local services or the 1-800 RESPECT number. It could be sitting with them as they make the call, if that's helpful. It could be providing a safe space for them to make that call from. Another thing that the role can involve is supporting people alongside the professionals. So the professionals do their bit in the risk management and the safety planning and what they've been trained well to do. But something that the church can do that we do well in other settings is that practical support. So can we go to court with someone to support them? Can we do some shopping, make some meals for them? It will depend on the particular situation, what the person experiencing the family violence would appreciate support for, and also what the church has capacity, is able to do, what is appropriate in that situation. But that really practical support can make the difference alongside that professional input. Of course, an important part of the role is to ensure child safety procedures are followed. So that would be working alongside the child safety officer in the church and knowing the diocese's procedures in that area, so that if children are involved in a situation of family violence in a home where somebody is perpetrating family violence, that we're taking the right steps in that area. Of course, the go-to number for this is to phone Cura if we have any concerns or questions about children being in a home where family violence is taking place. But part of the role would just be to be asking that question if children are involved and to making sure the right steps are taken. It's important for the family safety officer as well to ensure privacy and confidentiality of information. So where somebody has trusted them with their story, to maintain that confidentiality unless there is mandatory reporting. All of this is covered in more detail in the training that the safety champion will do. And finally, the role is about promoting strategies to help prevent violence against women and promote gender equality and respectful relationships. And this is the prevention end of things, trying to shift the culture which makes violence against women more likely. So thinking about how in the church that could happen. And we've certainly got a lot of ideas and resources available at the diocese to help the champions think this through. So some examples just to get you thinking of some steps that champions have taken so far. It's been putting up posters in church. So at the diocese, we have had posters created. During COVID lockdown restrictions, those posters are less helpful. So we're creating a digital version. So that could be something that family safety champions could ensure their churches include in their online services or in their social media on their website, for example. Could be writing and giving input into church newsletters to keep this as a topic of reflection and conversation in the church. Could be, as I said, helping the church to find out who their local family violence service is and build a relationship with them. And just generally to work in partnership with the clergy to put in place those things to create a safe church and to ensure that there's good teaching on respectful relationships and healthy relationships. So it can be so many things. It's really up to your creativity, and we're keen to talk that through with you where it's helpful. In terms of the kind of person who would be a good family safety champion, it's important they're highly empathetic and non-judgmental, that they are approachable and accessible, and that they're someone who knows when to seek professional advice. They won't try and sort it out by themselves. They know the limits, that they are not the professionals and that they are the signposter. So, and through the training day that somebody has to do to become a champion, they will learn more about how to recognise signs of violence and abuse, how to respond to disclosures, and where to refer people on to for professional support. And they'll also learn about how churches can address the culture that drives violence against women. It's important to highlight that this is challenging, and self-care is really important. It can take a toll on mental health when you're supporting someone in this difficult situation. So it's important for clergy and the family safety champion to work out how well-being and self-care will be managed in that role, what things they can put in place to have check-ins and to make sure it's not becoming too much and that they have the support that they need. So it's something to highlight early on to keep it as a topic of conversation in this role. And the Preventing Violence Against Women programme is here to support champions. It's a new role, an emerging role, and so we really want to support you in that. We can provide advice and mentoring via email or the phone. Just get in touch and we can help you, talk you through your ideas and let you know of resources that we have available and encourage you. We can provide you with resources that we're aware of. If there's particular demand for a certain resource, we can look into if we can create that resource for churches. And we're also wondering if it might be helpful to set up a community of practice if there's enough interest. So do let us know if you are considering this role and would find that helpful. We've certainly found it to be useful in other parts of the programme to create those spaces where people can come together and share ideas and encourage each other. So we are happy to facilitate that as well. So how to become a family safety champion? Firstly, somebody needs to be appointed to this role by the vicar of their parish. They would need to attend a Diocese of Melbourne Violence Against Women training day. They would need to complete the clearance process via Kiura and then to register that appointment with the Preventing Violence Against Women programme by emailing us at that email there. Of course, during COVID, unfortunately, the training days are on hold at the moment, face-to-face. However, if you are somebody who is looking to become a family safety champion in your church, but you haven't been able to attend a training day, do get in touch and let us know, because if there's enough interest, we'll be looking to perhaps do a specific training for this group of people for you online in smaller chunks so that you can go on to get started on that role in that setting. So let us know if that is the case for you so we can look at how we can overcome that in this setting. Just a note on clearances. We will send more information on the clearances in an email if you do get in touch to say you would like to do this role in your church. But firstly, it involves obtaining a police check in your parish, via your parish, and also to have a Working with Children card. And then there's a particular form from Kiura which we will send you to fill out that you then submit to Kiura with proof of ID. So we'll send you all of that information and guide you through that, but that's just to highlight some of the steps involved. And this is an important part of us making sure that we've taken the right steps to create a safe church, that we have people that we've done the background checks on and we've done some due diligence in who we're appointing to these roles. So that's a summary of what the role is and what it involves. If you have any questions, please do contact us at the Diocese of Melbourne. We'd be really happy to answer any questions, discuss anything with you, as I've said. That's the email there. And as I said, it's an emerging role, so we're learning, and I'm sure you'll have lots of good ideas of how we can grow this role and strengthen it and make it something that can be a real blessing in your parish. So thank you so much for listening and joining on this video. I hope you found it helpful to understand more of the role. Much of what I've taken you through is presented in the Family Safety Champion position description. Another thing that I'd like to highlight before I go is that we also have another resource for churches about how to introduce this role in your parish. It's important to introduce the role carefully so that people are more likely to reach out for help or with questions. For example, if you introduce it as about family violence, somebody who may be in a situation of family violence might not recognise they are, because it might not be physically violent, might be other types of violence and abuse. So it's important to use the right wording so that more people are likely to reach out for that help. So we have created a resource of how to introduce this to your church that takes you through some of the language and why that's important. So we will also share that with you when you are appointed to this role and looking to introduce it to your parish. Great. Well, I hope that's all been helpful. Thank you. And we hope that we'll be able to have many churches investing in this role and strengthening the work of their parishes so that they can be safer places where everyone can thrive. I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you. Bye.